About dementia with Barnai Roberto. In medicine, the phenomenon is known when healthy in mind, smart, motivated, creative, constructive and active man suddenly circling. He retreats in development, his mental capacity is reduced, he begins to behave as if he was not himself. In former medicine, due to lack of knowledge about the biological background of any change, and the physical effects of psychological conflicts, the symptoms described above are related to age and are inherited, etc. It turned out, however, that dementia, circularity, retrogression, mental retardation and mental decline are primarily biological programs. In an effort to describe and illustrate in an easy way, these are two unified conflicts, which cause damage to the brainstem consisting in the fuse of a fuse. As a result, consciousness loses contact with the physical world, is unable to communicate with the world as much as before, cannot properly express its intentions. Since the discovery of these biological laws, coexistence with demented individuals has become possible. Moreover, by resolving conflicts, it has become possible to derive them from a state of limited consciousness. Described dementia and circularity we no longer call stupefaction or withdrawal and development, but state of limited mental awareness. This phenomenon occurs when both the left and right sides of the brainstem become pathological outbreaks. What conflicts do they cause? The foci created on the left side of the brainstem is always associated with a conflict of acquisition or ingestion of ability. This is a conflict with the inability to take possession of the essential thing to survive, without which I cannot imagine a further life. These conflicts are contained in the short sentence, I cannot live without it. On the right side of the brain stem are located conflicts of inability to expel teeth. In order for us to understand this very primitive Stone Age biological response, we should go back to the beginning of the history of evolution. It was then developed and programmed into living organisms. Well, the brain-controlled organs are built of glandular tissue, which developed through so-called bite conflicts at a time when life was only in the water. Since these simple organisms undergo similar conflicts, then one can also suffer from them. Also, such conflict may affect me. For example, when I lose a job because of lack of funds, I will not have anything to eat. I will then go through the conflict of obtaining teeth. 30. When such a simple aquatic life was simultaneously affected by two conflicts, the conflict of acquisition and the conflict of expulsion of the billet, so on his way up to two obstacles appeared simultaneously, then simply stupid. It stopped orienting itself in space and time. If a similar situation happens to a man, then suddenly he ceases to know his relatives. He cannot hit home, he forgets where he lives. In other words, the guy circled. And what could be the meaning of such a state? Well, if at the same time someone encounters a conflict of acquisition and expulsion, teeth, Mother Nature diminishes, limits awareness in such person, in the hope that life itself will bring about the solution of conflicts and the unconscious man will better survive the unfavorable period. The need for such a mental reaction is due to the fact that at the time of the second conflict the person affected could go insane. It follows that if there are pathological outbreaks on the left and right sides of the brain stem, This will cause the formation of two different and independent tumors. So who has two pathological outbreaks also has two developing tumors. When a state of difference specifically limited consciousness, the less the patient will understand and feel the weight of these conflicts. As a result, the development of tumors is slowed down compared to the situation of their independent growth with full mental awareness of the patient. With this primitive Stone Age reaction, the unit gains momentum. For example, it is in a state of dementia for a year but tumors do not grow. Therefore, people diagnosed with dementia do not detect or diagnose tumors. And that's because they do not realize what's going on with them. They do not even know where they are. A person who is in such a state cannot fall into an emotional swing. Conclusion: dementia is a biological reaction designed to make it possible to survive and prolong the species, thanks to which man gains time, and with the passage of time the possibility of changing the surrounding conditions and resolving conflicts. If he succeeds, then almost immediately he returns to full health, and again is able to use his intellect. So is the biological background of circularity, dementia or Alzheimer's disease. The fact that in today's world these changes are most often diagnosed in people of retirement age. It is due to the fact that in this group is at the same time there is a conflict of acquisition and expulsion teeth. These people most often have both the problem of maintaining themselves and closing unnecessary matters. What could be the bite? In fact, everything is essential to life. Significant for the conflicts of obtaining abilities the statement "this is absolutely necessary. Life without it is not possible. I cannot live without it." For example, one of the conflicts that will cause Alzheimer's disease will be an insufficient retirement, and the second will be the inability to get rid of some sort of stigma. The conflict of material nature has been fueled by the conflict of wickedness that has come to us from somebody such as cheating or other distress, and from which we cannot be freed. And just in that case, when at the same time people have conflicts in the acquisition or inherent bite as well as the inability to get rid of something and thus the expulsion of teeth, he comes to limit his consciousness, not to worry so much and not worry about the situation. Thanks to this, man, like the animals, once gains time. In this state of limited consciousness it can last for even years. And after his retirement it turns out that thanks to him the patient did not die due to the tumors in his body, because their further growth was unnecessary in his case. The sick man gained time. This is the biological basis of dementia. Therefore, the only way to get a human out of it and restore it to consciousness is either a complete change of environment and circumstances in which he lives, or help solve his conflicts. After all, a person with dementia whose awareness is limited does not suddenly become creative again, will not come up with a way to deal with problems. Conclusion: this person is dependent on the environment. From the environment in which it is located, what is associated with the world of marine or water life. If the conflict of acquisition and expulsion of teeth touched me, then I lose consciousness. I am going to bear the current, and thus drifting I will reach the place in which my conflicts will prove unfounded. So if we want to help people who are in a similar state, we should check what conflicts trigger this condition. and through their solution, lead the person out of dementia. Let him recover himself.